Celebrity Book Club.
Hey, Lily, do you want to come over and get super cozy-wozy in our jammy pajama jams and maybe make a little bit of tea and cookies?
Rough. I'm feeling like a ridiculous old dog today, Stephen. So, if I could, curl up at your feet and if we could, lap yummy tea in your creepy haunted house and watch old documentaries, that sounds like a fun time.
Ruff, 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 ruff. I want to pet your nummy little fur and rub my face in your nungskunk's little taily willy. I want to make the marshmallowiest little fireplace and get all noomsty goompsty inside a cabiny wabbiny in the cold snow with you. I feel so tiny. I feel like the tiniest little rabbit with the tiniest little tail. I'm a fluffy nuffer butter. Hug me, make me feel safey wave.
Okay, what fur bag should I wear to your house?
You should wear a tiny little mink stole. That would be so fabulous and kind of old school, like an old lady from a ghost, from a film, from a tiny film strip. Do you ever look through a magazine and you see an old woman and she's in a photograph and she's still, but she's beautiful and she's elegant and she's smart, and you know that she probably suffered abuse at the hands of the patriarchy, and you think, what must she be thinking? I honor you, old ghost woman, and I listen to your stories.
Okay, I'm gonna scuttle over to your house right now and get in my Prius, aka my little carriage.
Yes.
And burrow in your house, okay?
Yes.
And burrow in your nummy little arms covered in thin, coarse fur.
Yay! Scuttle on over in your pre. I'll put a pot of honey on poo.
And scene. It's so disgusting.
Who's that knocking at the door? It's all your friends, you filthy whore. Your husband's gone and we've got books and a bottle of wine to kill. It's Hollywood. It's books. It's gossip. I'm shook. It's memoir. It's martinis. It's Studio 54. It's Celebrity Book Club. Come read it while it's hot. Celebrity Book Club. Tell your secrets, we won't talk. Celebrity Book Club. No boys are allowed. Celebrity Book Club. Say it loud and proud. Celebrity Book Club.
Buzz me in, I brought the Cuervo.
Hey, Bess.
Hi.
Tiny little best friend.
Hey, mouse.
Hi, my little mouse. I have a little story to tell you about. So I go to the Barnes & Noble a lot, as you know, because I have a podcast where I have to read a book every week, and I do prefer the old dead tree version, as they say. I'm not a big Kindleista myself. So, of course, I had ordered this week's book on Amazon.
Because you care about small businesses.
I care about small businesses, and I care about using my small friend of the pod, Daniel's Prime account. And
Which reminds me, and this is for everyone to hear, remind me, I need to cancel my Prime account and get on Daniel's.
Yeah, there's no reason for our friend group to have separate Primes.
Yeah, it's psycho.
Share a Prime with your friends. So it said it would arrive on Thursday. Thursday came and went. Friday came and went. Saturday came and went. Sunday came and went. No book.
Which is crazy because I feel like when I ordered as the Brooklyn Beckhams, they were drone dropped to me an hour later.
I'm sure Posh is paying extra to make sure that if anyone even thinks about buying that book, it gets in their house immediately. So I'm in Manhattan because I have to get my keys at Keen's, which I had accidentally left there when I went there for martinis a week ago.
Humble brag, join the VIP lounge.
So
you're all about it.
I walk to Union Square. I'm getting my steps in. First, I go to the girl at the counter, and I was just like, "Hey, can I ask you to help me find a book?" And she just pauses for maybe 10 seconds. And she kind of just looks off, and she's just whatever indie girl with a bandana. It's just 7 p.m., I guess. And she's annoyed. And then she looks back at me. She was like, yeah, I can do that. And I'm kind of just babe, you work here.
Something about it's the Strand is very information desk. I don't think people at Barnes and Nobles are prepared to help people find books.
No, and I obviously she feels like that's someone else's purview, but then she kind of looked at the computer and was like, obviously the computer's in front of me and I can do this.
I guess I can. I love the wistful looking away.
Lo and behold, it was not hard to find. Anyway, I'm on the phone with my friend, and the story is getting really long. I find the book. I leave Barnes & Noble. I'm in the subway when I look down and realize I didn't pay for the book, bitch.
Oh, badass.
And that's my financial advice for the week. Okay, so the book in question that I did steal from Barnes and Nobility
is none other than Countess Jenny Slate.
Jenny Slate and her little book.
Well, her little book
called
Little Weirds.
It's a tiny little book. And the girl, when I stole it, when she was like, it might be hard to find, I feel like she was saying it in this way where like, it's such a tiny little book.
Like, it's such a, like, you're a tiny girl and it's a tiny book and you have tiny little beady eyes because you're a little mouse looking for the book like a fox in a foxhole.
So the cover is...
Little flowers.
Serif font. There is like a twee like drawing of a kind of a wreath made out of objects, and like there's a dinosaur and a hamburger and a hot dog and popsicles and flowers and just like a can like an IPA. It is
because she loves beer.
It's the most twee Brooklyn.
It is the most twee book
ever
on
existed
planet
in
Earth.
history.
I didn't think something this twee honestly could exist, and the fact that it also came out in 2019 is really crazy because it lives
no, it's giving 2014. I mean,
it lives in Portlandia. The whole book, I want to call the style of it twee meets magical realism meets like horror, hot girl writing, make it hot, essay, creative fiction, freshman year.
It is very freshman year personal essay, and I'm going to be absurdist and then use like magical realist fiction to kind of like remind you of how tiny I want to be. It makes Wes Anderson look like a fucking Marvel movie. Like that is
no, I know
that is how twee this is.
The Fantastic Mr. Fox is basically Tommy Boy.
Like in comparison to this book, where every page she is just like, I want to be a little mouse. So basically, it is not a memoir. It is in
a way a memoir. It's I would say basically a memoir about growing up in Massachusetts and then getting divorced and being alone and like wanting to fall in love again is kind of the premise.
Yeah, except it sort of transpires through these mini essays, and then it's memoirish in the way that the first like batch of essays will be like, I was born on a space rock. I am 30 boink years old. I grew up in a boinking house in Massachusetts. The boink. So
the boinks and the doodads and the like, and then okay, let me just read this part. This is like kind of how this, I want to call like this style is a way of like, you are kind of a thin like hot girl, but you're like, I'm a comedy girl, so I'm actually going to describe my body in a weird way. Hello, tonight I'm going to the restaurant where I will eat a killed and burned up bird and drink old purple grapes, and also I will gulp clear water that used to have bugs and poop and poison in it, but has been cleaned up so that it doesn't make us blow.
Like the grossest thing in the world, because the whole book is basically her being like, just like, yes, I am a meat sack, like wrapped in a flesh blanket on a space rock hurtling through the universe. So it's like she's describing wine as just like nasty sour juice full of poop and bugs. And I eat it to make me feel woolly-gooly with my friends. And then I do it all over again because that is what it means to be a woman in society.
Oh, also, this book is about, you guessed it, the Orange Man.
Okay, we'll get there. But hold on. So it's her basically saying that she is an upper middle class northeastern liberal elite like Massachusetts girl and like Jewish girl, and like listing those like bona fides, but like in like a silly way. So like,
yes, so she's from Milton, Massachusetts, which is a wealthy suburb outside of Boston, Massachusetts.
And Milton, did she go to Milton?
I feel like she did not go to Milton.
She probably like went to BB&N, like where
she actually feels like she did go to just like Milton High, or she went to like Dana Hall. Doesn't she give off like I'm the weird girl at Dana Hall vibes to you?
Do you want to know? I just found her wiki.
Windsor.
Milton.
Okay, so she did go.
So she literally just went to Milton. Those of you who don't know, Milton is just like, it's one of the private schools that was in our league of private schools in Massachusetts, and it is
called
one
the
of the
ISL.
most the ISL, and it is one of the like most hoity-toity, expensive, like really remote, serious, like Oxfordy of all the schools.
And this sentence to me defined an upper middle class Massachusetts upbringing. I was born in shin guards on a soccer field on a chilly little Saturday morning in the 80s. It's like,
also,
why does it have to be the most little Saturday? It's like...
Wait, this other one. I was born during the Great Potato Chip in the time of Jewish deli tongue sandwich. I was born during the Great Potato Chip. I was born in shin guards. I am soccer practice. Like, my mom is rich, but she is so minivan. It's just like...
And she's always, so a lot of the beginning is also her talking about how creepy her house was. And it's like, you're kind of just saying you grew up in a Victorian in this way. Just like, my house is haunted by lovers who lived there years ago and were sailors. And the sailors fell in love with widows who fell in love with sea captains. And you're like, okay, so this house is big.
You live in a big, creaky Victorian with a big porch and a porch swing.
I mean, it sounds dusty as hell for sure in that Massachusetts way. And then she keeps on saying, she kept on saying, like, the daughters of the ghost house left because they had to have sex.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, women in the past, when they wanted to leave home, you know, it was to have sex.
And it still is.
In many ways.
She's not wrong.
Wait, was Milton the school that had the stone face?
The scandal.
Scandal?
Yeah.
So there was this massive scandal when we were in high school. Maybe I've talked about this in the pod before.
I feel like we have, but we can talk about it
But just to rehash it quickly, and maybe literally it was when Jenny Slate was there. But basically, Stoneface is a game where like 4 jocks sit around a table and then one girl is underneath the table on her knees blowing one of the jocks, and they all have to not react. And if you react, so you have to have a stone face. So if you react, then it's revealed that you're the one getting head, and then you lose the game. So apparently this was played at Milton. It was this huge scandal because it's sex and it's teens and it's not allowed. And like the entire ISL was talking about it. So we had like an assembly about it, how it's like not okay to like play stone face. It's like too sexual and demeaning to women, but also like too fun.
Way too fun. And that's why you can't. You wish you could play Stoneface.
I'd love to see like a modern Stoneface. I mean, I guess in some ways, I mean, if you're at a glory hole, like everyone knows you're getting head, but I'd love to see that. I guess that's kind of like a lot of porns are kind of modern Stoneface because it's always like the guy at the office is getting blown, and there's the very
right, and then someone walks in and they're just like, "Hey, Jerry, can I get that?"
Gay porn is
file?
Very that because there's always the wife is walking in, and while he's like getting fucked behind the door and be like, "I'm just changing the laundry."
It's classic getting caught king.
Yeah.
But then I feel like now they're really reflecting on the stone face because, of course, it was like the girl who got like expelled first or whatever in 2005.
Right, I'm sure that, yeah, because it was so like Salem and they were just like, she's so witch.
Right. They're like, stone her. Stone her now.
Okay, anyway, so Jenny Slate is rich.
And she's also like, we had a really dusty tennis court that my parents built, but like, me and my sisters left to have sex. We never used the dusty
and then
tennis
the deer gets caught. That one deer gets caught in the chain link fence and dies because no one sees the deer caught because no one even uses their old abandoned tennis court. And like the mom finally finds it weeks later and is like, oh, this dead deer is caught in the fence, and they had to sever the deer's leg, and it was gross.
There's something so chillingly Massachusetts about it, and this, and I do think Jenny Slate does she does give that vibe of just like the mom, upper middle class mass mom who has this dog that like isn't cute, no one wants, but like they do have. And like she's burdened with just like walking it and being kind of angry for the rest of her life.
Yep. I mean, that is giving mom right there.
Giving mom.
The burden of having the angry pet that no one wants and you have to take care of it forever. It's very mom.
I was going to say, just like that, how kind of she's like, ooh, I live in a haunted house. Like, she also is our classic, I'm so weird and thin.
Oh, yeah.
Strangers on the street see me and think I might be French. You are a stranger. You see me. And you think that I am a French woman, and then you look at me and allow a deeper kind of feeling sight to occur, and you see past the woman, you sense that I am actually a homemade Parisian croissant, and I was born in a kitchen in a house with a cool stone floors and deep windowsills that hold on to the light of the big box. And then it's like, she goes on describing boxes and gets so like...
Well, what this book is about the bottom's desire to be small. And she is constantly anthropomorphizing herself into tiny objects or tiny animals.
Mouse, fox,
rabbit, croissant. Like, I am small, I am French, I am tiny. And like, I want you to see me as a tiny little pleasant object that you will like play with. And I'm kind of old-timey and maybe I'm on a doily. And I am just like so intensely feminine.
So feminine, but also I know I'm so feminine that I'm like fighting that because she's always like watching one documentary like about like witches, and so there's a scene where she's at the airport and she does this like guys girl thing where she's like, she's
when
in
she
this
gets
part,
the beer.
we gather
Wait,
she's
okay,
like
wait.
she's divorced and she's going to visit her friends in Norway, which she seems to always do.
She's constantly in Norway, and I was bringing us back to our thing of Iceland being hot right now. She's in Norway like every other chapter of this book, which is also so tiny little things and like little wooden dolls and little tiny cabins,
little collapsed shoes,
and being like a fragile woman on a rocky coast in the cold, brittle winter. Places Jenny Slate is not, just like on the beach in Florida. Like her spindly little ass cannot.
But she's also very beach, but in a vineyard way.
In a cold, like borderline lesbian way, just like I was on the coldest walk with my best female friends.
Wait, no, because there's the whole part about how she like describes herself as feral because she goes on this one beach trip with friends.
I know, but that's literally in Norway and they're being cold.
No, there's another beach trip where they're like naked.
But isn't that the same beach trip where she was like, the first day it was too cold to go to the
but
beach?
I was getting 70 degrees from the too cold.
I was getting the too cold was like 54. And then on the like 68 degree day, that's when they have their like cool like lesbian like women's like weekend, but they're all straight.
Deeply straight, but like...
Okay, we've gone in a couple of different directions here. Yeah. I want to bring it back
to... Let's talk about the North... I just want to talk about the guys girl thing first.
Okay, yeah, let's get to the airport. She's
in the airport and she's like, I ordered a beer because if I ordered a glass of wine, like nothing is more sad. And like, I will not be like divorced woman, like white wine, mom wine sad. And like, I'm going to reclaim my strong femininity by being a small girl who has a big cup of beer.
Let me read the passage, and that's exactly correct. Also, I love being alone in airports and sitting at the bar and drinking a pint of beer. I do not get glasses of wine because that seems sad to me. And even when I am happy, it sometimes happens that the slightest things can tip me into non-specific sadness when I am alone. A glass of white wine would be devastating, for example, if I were alone. That's the kind of thing that would make me feel, again, for example, very divorced. And I'm like, okay, it's not inaccurate. She's right. A white wine is very divorced, but her fear of being very divorced, it's so like it's obviously comes back to her desire to be like weak and small and just be like, divorce is too strong of a like strong independent woman, like,
yeah,
you know,
like it's
like
too feminine. So she's like,
cliche
I
of
need
her
to be IPA and a guy's girl. This whole book is her being like, I need to fight the patriarchy, but also the whole book is her just being like, I need to be married.
Well, yeah, and this is like the ultimate just like lib-feb conundrum where it's just like she's constantly watching a documentary about the patriarchy, but then like every day is yearning for the most like normal ass like mid-market B-list soy Brooklyn like nerd with just like who is balding and has a beard.
And I will give a little gossip about her current relationship in the VIP lounge.
Wait, no, spill. Wait, can you spill and bleep?
I guess it's just like I know her husband because I know who dated him before her. And I heard that actually he was kind of a misogynist.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what she wants.
Right. And the whole book is her just being like, I hate misogyny.
Right.
But you're like, it's like she hates it so much. It's like, it's just so like you want it.
Well, this is like the whole book is kind of this like negation
Also,
of desire.
the bottom sorrow. It's just so like, you're like, no. And then you're like, I want a big man to like hold me with his big furry paws.
And I want to feel tiny. So let's get into her feminism, which is like the other kind of thread of this book. So the very beginning of the book, this is basically the intro to the book. And she's talking about how she's like scared to perform on stage and as a comedian, but when she writes, she's herself. I tremble myself to pieces when I perform. I also put myself back together and I leave without a limp. Recently, my life fell to pieces. These things happened. Pummeling heartbreak, the sickening experience of watching a racist, homophobic, misogynist bully sit right down in the Oval Office, loss of confidence, astounding loneliness, disempowerment, and exhaustion. So it's basically you got broken up with and Trump became president, and this book is you processing that by being a tiny random little mouse.
By being like a tiny random little mouse in LA who owns a house. And like goes to Norway to visit your married friends. When Trump was elected, I went to Norway and I visited my friends who have a beautiful marriage. And that's how I process.
And she keeps being just like, and my friend and her sweetheart. And it's like,
oh, I know. Was someone saying your sweetheart is also icky bohickey to me?
It's literally icky bohickey.
There were so many times in this book that I really had to just throw the Kindle across the room. It was too... The phrasing of it was...
Well, there's just this deep, like, narcissism, like, of course, in this book. There's also parts where it's like, I actually was almost liking it for a minute. I think, like... that.
I'm with you. Yeah, there definitely were parts where I was like, okay, I'm into this, but, like, just don't be so nasty, like, for the rest of it.
When she, like, is able to stop saying, like, boink for 5 seconds, I like the end of the second Norway trip, I actually thought that was kind of, like... vulnerable, and she was kind of admitting, like, she talked about how just like I cried on the airplane home. She was like kind of met this guy who was being hot and like gave her a flower, and like then she saw him like jump into the water at one point, and that was hot, but she couldn't really like,
she was like, I couldn't look at him. She
couldn't look at him, and she like wasn't as like vulnerable as she wanted to be. She goes, I looked into my heart for the first time in a long time, and I saw a door to something. I thought my heart had been close, but it had been farther than I thought. Like when we went to the island, and it was not as near as it seemed. And it was just like, I mean, that's kind of vague, but like, I like that she was like, ooh, I actually am kind of more uptight than I realized, and like, I'm not really open.
Well, and I think that feeling, she does address it well, of like going on this breakout trip, but like, and like wanting it to be fab, but it's also melancholy the whole time, and you're just kind of going to different like cold little islands on boats.
I mean, going alone to Norway to see your like couple friend, like that's a melancholy ass sad trip, like.
Right. And then this part was funny, and this thing, because there are many things that I have found Jenny Slate very funny in, and many things where I'm like, I agree. This is a no for me.
No, I mean, she can be very funny. I've loved her. Like, she and Gabe Liebman... Publicity is, like, the funniest thing that's ever happened. She and Gabe Liebman used to have that show... What's it called? They did a stand-up show in Brooklyn forever. That was funny.
Yeah.
That I feel like we've been to. Or, like...
Like, it was called, like, washing something.
Yeah, or, like, ridiculous something.
We need to respect our elders more.
She was funny on her one season of SNL. Anyway, and, like... But this is kind of more her Marcel the Shell with shoes on persona, which is, like...
Yes.
Child.
Little
so
animal
childlike.
Anthropomorphizing stuff.
Yeah. Okay, the first trip to Iceland that she takes, this is, like, the more lesbian trip when the first day is too cold to go to the beach.
Describing this like female vacation of like them just basically like not wearing bras and like eating rotisserie chicken with their hands, and she's like, we were feral, like we were literally lesbian.
No, it's so girl who puts on a flannel shirt and is like, I'm a total lesbian today, I look disgusting. It's like girl who only puts on concealer and is just like, wow, I'm an actual haggard dead sea witch.
I'm a dead tiger witch, and like this is we three tiger witches, and like, but it's also so baby, where she's like, her and the girls are like always taking like cold baths together.
Okay.
And they're like, and we drink wine and smoke cigarettes, but it also sounded fun and freeing, and like did remind me of like vacations where we you take and you're just like, yeah, I am just like wearing this t-shirt and like you're not looking at your phone and you're just like beached up and like it doesn't matter, you are being a total lesbian.
I mean, it sounded so the movie Wine Country with Maya Rudolph and Amy Poehler
and Paula Bell.
But this part when she goes, I could feel it. The three of us were intensely bright in our desire for each other's adoration and gaze, in our appetites to be set free as a small roving herd. Again, we're animals. I could feel it, but I didn't want to say it out loud because my friends were new friends and they were younger than me. So that part, I'm like, wait a minute, they're new friends. Is this kind of a like...
This felt comedian trip to me.
Yes! Okay, it reminded me of that comedian trip that was like, Jennifer Lawrence, Amy Schumer, Nikki Glaser, where it's like Nikki Glaser and Jennifer Lawrence have never spoken since. And like, what's her name? The other comedian, Bridget Everett was on that trip too.
And they're like all in a pyramid and like, just like Nikki Glaser like maybe did send one text to Jennifer Lawrence
on the group text and like that was it. And it's like, they definitely have not hung out since that like total crazy girls trip to the Caribbean.
Yeah. No, I was like, okay, these are two like younger. I feel like younger by definitely just like 2 or 3 years who are like, Jenny, like you need to come to like whatever. Like,
I feel like it's A.D. Bryant is one of them.
Oh, I was getting more like Casey Wilson.
Who's Casey Wilson?
Like those just like LA comedians who were in that show Happy Endings.
This is like, one of those shows that's on for 6 seasons on Hulu that's about just like a brunette that like you will watch and no one else will.
Okay, I mean, I haven't even watched that show and people are like, cult, funniest show to ever happen. Yeah, comment below with who you think this like feral lesbian bath trip is with.
Celebrity Book Club.
Oh, I was just going to talk about this part that I actually did like and I did think was horrifying. Another kind of vulnerable moment.
Yeah.
She goes, I thought about how on one Valentine's Day, an old bad boyfriend gave me his own digital camera and stuck it in a sock so that I could unwrap it. And then he went out and bought himself a new camera. We broke up a few months later. And you know what? I've been waiting for good love for a really long time and I've been lying in order to be part of something for almost forever. I was like, toxic. Fuck this guy. And I felt like that was just a good observation and kind of raw memory to share that is so random. I'm just like, wrapping an old digital camera in a sock so you can get a new one? Psycho.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that is like that.
Jail.
That's about as bad of a gift as you can give. That's worse than my infamous sheets that I got from an ex-boyfriend for my birthday.
Sheet.
Sorry, sheet.
Which, again,
love you fact-checking that. It was just one fitted sheet.
Let's never forget the fact that even though we joke all the time about how that was a bad present, I did also get that.
You defended that sheet hard at the time.
No. I also, for Maya, got her that same Muji sheet.
You copied the sheet. Was it for a birthday?
I think it was like, I was like, basically just at Muji, and I was like, I can give this to her for our anniversary. One sheet.
Okay.
But it was also, I think, me being a little more, just picked it up because she's always being like, ugh.
That's sheets. Nice. It's an anytime gift. And like anytime gifts and anytime sheet is like a great gift if you're in a long-term relationship to keep things interesting and keep it spicy. Yeah.
Keep things fresh, clean.
I want to circle back to her kind of like the kind of just like weirdly like denial, the sort of like self-denial that like permeates this book about her like wanting to be this tiny girl who like has all these like feminine ideals, but like also just like has this moralizing view about society. This is a little section where she's giving it advice on like random stuff. If there is an animal to hold and soothe or just smooth the fur, do that. Wash your face and hands. Put on an outfit of all one color. Only do a little gossip and make sure it doesn't make any dents in anyone. Like
that, the only do a little gossip, because it's like, you know what, she is so like,
as if like, well, because
she probably gossips a lot.
Yes,
but she thinks she's like, I'm being bad, so the way she covers it up is just pretending she is like a mouse.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know what's better. It also just feels very like just, I don't know, so New York Times in this way where they're like 5 things to get you out of like winter depression.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
plan an outfit, wear it on a Thursday, cook a good soup.
Well, which is like identical to all those articles that are like 5 things to ease your anxiety as we go through the election season. Like turn away from C-SPAN.
Take a walk as we choose a majority leader of the House.
Because she's just like, our democracy is dying. I must go to Norway for a tiny, tiny soup.
Oh, and then another like tiny thing she does in Norway that's like ridiculous is she, which I did think was funny, and I feel like would be funny in a Jenny Slate like indie movie that I see alone. Which I did see Obvious Child alone at the Quad Cinema, and
I saw Obvious Child. I think I was with someone, but I in theaters, and I remember liking it. Like that's the one about abortion, right?
Yeah, and I was like crying alone in my seat at
yeah,
some scene.
That was like as a review might say, a beautiful small movie.
Yeah, it was like a small movie. It's like hour 23 minutes.
It dealt with an intimate subject material in small spaces in like a profound way.
And she does the hour 20 kind of dark rom-com, I think, very well.
Yeah, well, I think that's like I think that is truer to like her, where it's just kind of like it's a little bit more like honest and authentic, whereas like I don't know, there's just, I mean, I get what this book is. It is honest in a way, like it is her id laid bare, I guess, because like she really does want to be this mouse, but it's just like threaded with all of this guilt that's like kind of annoying.
And I guess I would, in a way, I'm like, I guess I respect you for being so I am mouse and not making it like just like a really tiny relationship essays.
Yeah, that that it is kind of like getting into this fiction space,
right? Because it's like we have that.
Yeah, I mean, when she really goes for, like, I liked that letter. The letter from her superego, or the letter to her superego. I was like, oh, okay, we're really getting into like conceptual here, where they're like, Dear Miss Slate, we were absolutely thrilled when roughly 3 years ago you got your hands on an Adam Phillips article in the London Review of Books about self-criticism in the superego. We were encouraged. And it's like her, like whatever, like the Department of Psychiatry, like telling her that they liked that she like read these ideas, but then actually didn't implement them. And I was like, okay, this is like self-aware and like funny in a way where that is kind of admitting that like all your concepts about like psychiatry come from this one, or psychology come from this one article you read, which I thought was cute.
And that is a cool feature. And in some of her anthropomorphizing stuff, like I also do wonder all the time, like what I would feel like if my body was covered in fur. And like I'm always like, what is my cat's vision? And like, wow, would so I think about those animal questions too.
Yeah.
Do you ever kind of think, what would the world look like if I was pattering as a little kitty cat?
Well, I think I've said this before, but I think animals in some ways are the true wild animals, not domesticated animals, but wild animals are the closest to being this sort of master of your reality in the Nietzschean sense, being having true joy.
I've actually never, that's new. I've never heard you say that before.
Perhaps you have, and you were wasted because we were on a fabulous girls trip in Norway having mead and wine.
And I was having bath wine, and you were like, Lily, don't you think that foxes are the true master of their reality? Like,
they have things like fear, and they have things like maybe shame, like enters into it too, but they don't have the same like sort of societal, hang-ups.
But do you know that though? Like, don't you think there's maybe expectations in a lion pride?
There's expectations, but they're not like, they don't go beyond, like, their anxiety is not as like so future based in the way that our anxiety is. Like, they have fear in the moment.
Not like my retirement account.
Right.
Did I say that last night?
Right. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that thing a week ago, a month ago, or a year ago. Like, I can't believe my post didn't get that many likes. Like, they're just like, in the moment, they may be fearful or lustful, but they express that immediately. You know, they fling their shit at each other. They fuck each other. They eat each other's assholes.
They're animals.
They're animals.
They're
darling.
animals, darling. Though I mean, nothing actually saddens me more than when animals get embarrassed.
Right. No, I mean, but it's also quite funny.
If you're sick like you, I guess.
Well, partly is that, you know, they don't want to appear weak, and they know, and, you know, it's like that's more innate in terms of just like the animal power structure. They don't want to appear weak to others. So I think that's where that like embarrassment comes from, or what we perceive, what we project as it. We are projecting our ideas of embarrassment onto them.
You know, and I feel like also it's house animals that get probably more embarrassed.
Well,
so,
yes, and that.
I mean, I've never been on a safari, so I don't really know what goes on.
Our next like girls' wine trip where we bring like
needs to be a safari.
2 new friends that we like have done a couple comedy events together with, but that we're not really close with, and we're like, we're all going to Namibia. Then we. We can
new safari
we
friends.
can really connect on that safari. I can't wait.
I cannot wait. So just to kind of to go to the end of the book, no spoilers, and this is another part that I was like, at this point I was a little like done with her, but then she brought me back of like, I mean, she really gets to the bottom of the madness of dating in the modern world, as she's just like, I want a boyfriend so bad, but like it's literally so painful to have the conversations with anyone to even get there because they're so like maddeningly boring, and it's just like her talking to like a boring guy at her sister's wedding. And she like blacks out of boredness.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that's probably the case for a lot of straight women. And I think especially if, you know, you are looking for a man who like has
a straight
guy who has the right job and the right politics, just, you know, he's probably going to be pretty boring in a lot of contexts.
Even to find out if you will be like a steady husband for you.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I mean, you have to put up with a lot. You've got to really stomach it. I don't envy the heterosexual women among us at all.
I really don't. And I bet, and this is the thing about toxic guys, I bet the guy who put the digital camera in the sock, I bet he had some fun conversation at first.
Yeah. And I bet he I wonder if he like was a good lay. Hard to say.
That one doesn't seem, that seems just like randomly toxic, but not even that good in bed.
Yeah. But maybe was withholding in a way that was like hot or left you wanting more.
Yeah, I think it's more like emotionally withholding. Right. I mean, she's clearly on a good, though, like relationship with her ex-husband because they made Marcel the Shell together.
Oh, wait.
And they're being so
wait, is that
right
guy her ex-husband?
Dean Fleischer Camp, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
We're actually mutuals on Twitter, which is really interesting.
Oh,
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, definitely plug
he'll
this
be
episode
He'll be really
to
excited to hear this episode where we trash his ex.
This episode is going to ruin our lives. And on that note, let's go to segments.
Oh, wait. One more thing that I just wanted to say that I felt was very her. When she is talking about Kathleen, the woman she hired to make her garden. Oh. I hired a woman named Kathleen to come and make a fence around my house so that I could be safe in a self-imposed pen, like an old goose or a young pig. And then she has this whole chapter about how Kathleen like built her garden like and a fence. And like, I don't know if Kathleen's a lesbian or not, but it's so like a straight girl who identifies as queer to like hire this like femme labor to build your garden, to like basically like outsource your cottagecore fantasy, because it's like ultimately cottagecore fantasy is always about outsourcing, and it is about being Marie Antoinette and being like, I'm wearing a linen dress in a field that someone else is like mowing, and I'm frolicking, and then someone else is like milking a cow and then bringing me a jug of milk so I can be like, I milked a cow.
No, we will get more into this in segments, but the way she describes her own LA house, that is like absolutely covered in like so many citrus trees is so insane. And she's just being like, it's also very comedian where you can tell like her day, it's like, when is the day starting, where she's like, I wake up, I make coffee, I pick lemons and grapefruits for about 7 hours. then I chop the grapefruit. Then I make really strong coffee, and I pet my old dog, and then I go to my job in a flesh bag.
And then I write a letter of apology to myself on old parchment.
Celebrity Book Club.
Little tiny segments. How does she live?
What does she eat?
What does she wear?
Ooh. What does she wear? Like cardigans and like vintage skirts.
Yeah,
and
like
tights
vintage
and, like,
little
boots
dresses
and
like
barrettes.
tights. But she's also, to me, wearing, bring it back to vineyard stuff, like huge faded novel t-shirt that's like a woman's, like a bodybuilder's body.
Yeah, she's I mean, she is like,
she's fun.
She's fun. She's funky, and like she's indie rich girl in Massachusetts, so she is being us and going to Savers and like getting a big
yeah,
crazy
like, she
t-shirt.
defines Savers like is us. Like she's having like her big daddy's like vineyard sweatshirt,
and
like,
she's also being still, say it with me, 80s windbreaker.
Yeah, she is the like me and her are the biggest 80s sticks.
Yeah, like she's absolutely so windbreaker. I guess I wonder if she is being a little bit more
Fanny
like
pack, like yeah.
Oh well, I was gonna say because she is so Louisa May Alcott and she is into like more.
Does she have a
nap dress?
I don't think she seems more little indie dress to me versus like big puffy cottage.
But is she actually being more like, because she is a celebrity? Is she being like a lot of like layered acne sweaters and like more kind of like earth toned, like maybe she has like a dark Prada skirt like that she is wearing with like so many sweaters and like a button down and tights and being so like, I'm a layered cozy
I'm a cozy
1920s Gibson girl fox flapper.
Yes.
So she she has expensive pieces that like she like is like oops bought at like
just like I feel like
the Acne
like
store in Stockholm
LBD,
when she was
that's
on
like oops 2000.
And she is getting styled for the red carpet every now and then, like, and is keeping the dress from like Rodarte.
I think it's that more just being so like, I felt so pretty in this.
I felt really pretty in Rodarte. Yeah.
And is like thanking her stylist for like turning her on to acne.
Yeah. And she was just like, I never thought that like a little meat flesh, tiny little honeybee sack like me could go to a big fancy designer grown-up adulty store like Acne, but somehow they had things that fit my tiny little bee frame. Buzz, buzz.
And then she also has like grandma pennies.
Oh,
My
for
disgusting-
sure. Her nasty wine-stained grandma panties. Okay.
Do you think this is what does she wear? Do you think she's diva cup or tampon? As someone who's really familiar,
really familiar with the differences, I guess I just don't think that she's like going to the hassle of like.
No,
diva
same.
cup.
I was like she. I feel like she wants to, but I don't think she is.
She's not
diva cup.
actually.
She also
that,
might just
like,
be on birth control that like doesn't give you a period.
Yeah. I'm like, isn't it so like she's like that girl who's very like, oh yeah, like my period is usually like half a day.
To me, she actually feels heavy flow and is talking about it. Like my flesh bag is bleeding everywhere.
Okay, and that's what is amazing about being a woman.
Right.
Yeah, I just feel like she's more normal tampon or birth control because it's like, isn't Diva Cup more like what's the girl who is from trans parent who lives in Hudson that we know kind of?
Oh, she is Diva Cup. Yes.
She's Diva
Gabby
Cup. Gabby Hoffman.
Yes, because she is actually like more Hudson and not in LA, and like is a little more actually kind of wily.
Gabby Hoffman is just like the actually a little bit crunchier, crustier version of Jenny
like,
Slate in this way, where she's
is probably
just
composting every weekend. Like does have hens, where I think Jenny Slate just has like Meyer lemon trees. No hens.
No hens. Hashtag no hens.
No hens. Do you have no hens?
Okay. So how does she live? No hens.
Okay.
No coop.
No hens. I mean, so she describes her house like a lot, but it's like in just like little weird ways that it's like, I mean, I can really imagine it's like cute little, it's succulents and it's plants and it's this sunny LA kitchen with like
so
old
fucking
tile.
Cute. Yeah. I'm sure it's like literally so fucking cute. And I actually don't even think her house is as twee as she writes this book.
No, that's what I think. I don't think it's like little owl paintings everywhere. Like,
no.
I think there is like from an estate, like an old thrift store, like a paint and oil painting of the sea and like something from her parents' house and like her grandma's mirror.
Yeah, and there's maybe like one framed fern, but it's not like fern central. Like there's not so many little like old eyeglasses like on a shelf.
Yeah, so many monocles everywhere.
Yeah. It's not just like Ben Franklin's office preserved. And I think that like there's like, you know, modern art prints that are leaning. She's doing leaning.
Well, so her husband is like a landscape painter, historian.
He's a historian of landscape painters.
Yeah.
That's specific, but that's cool.
Yes.
I'd love to get a tour of the American wing at the Met from him. I'm sure he'd have a lot to say.
It's a very straight man to be like, I'm going to study landscape paintings.
No people for me. Us making fun of anyone who has like a job. Just be like, not you having an interest that you dedicate your career to.
That you literally study day and night.
She owns just like a $1.8 million house.
Right, that's like in Echo Park.
Yeah, Echo
Silver Lake. That she bought. What was that show? She probably bought that with that House of Cards money.
She was not in House of Cards.
Wasn't she?
No. Kate Mara was in House of Cards. Is that who you're thinking of? Rooney Mara's sister?
Who I saw at Dimes Market when I worked there.
Kate
Mara. Yeah, she bought water. And she was like looking for so long.
I
was
bet.
like, I'm going to settle on water.
It can be hard to pull the trigger in there.
Well, it's like which water?
Yeah. Okay, what does she eat? She's a ravenous woman of midnight, you know. She likes to feast on chicken and pheasant and bird and Brussels sprouts and root vegetables and yummy salads and beets and nuts.
She is like kitchen girl though. Like I don't think like she does have dinner and like the 2 hot dogs, but like her favorite meal is being this bird, opening a jar of jam and eating the entire thing at midnight.
Because ultimately she is so Cambridge mom. And like, I do wonder how Cambridge her kitchen is. Like, is it like that natural peanut butter that's separating?
Is it, or is it, no, she's,
because Gabby Hoffman's doing the separated
she's
peanut butter.
separated, but I think Jenny Slate is just Justin's. It's like,
oh yes,
natural but nummy.
It's natural but nummy. It's not too separated.
It's not like full
gross.
Care Bear Earth Bears,
No.
like separated oily ass, like peanut butter.
Justin's.
And she's just like romaning and is like getting a dead bird and putting her dead Meyer lemons on it and like caper berries. And
we eat the dead bird, and the dead bird is delicious, and we revel with our friends of yore, and we think this is what life is beautiful for, and we thank the earth for her many gifts.
So her hot dog thing, right, when she orders from the children's menu in Norway is because she sees a Norwegian woman casually eat a hot dog.
Right.
And she thinks
she's
that's
like,
so chic. But she's like, I know as an American woman, I can't do that.
I did love how in one of her many like childlike anthropomorphizing, she says that a deer is like an 80s businesswoman.
Yeah, that was
which I do love, because like deer are kind of just like big but fragile in this way, and they are just like so like running like to the
always
office,
running,
like always running in heels and bag and being so like receptionist. But like making their way up the ladder.
Oh, the other thing about how she lives, so she was like, her stance on TVs is like she puts her TV in like a straw cabinet because it's like
a wicker. Yeah.
Wicker. Gross to see your TV.
And that's why I think it is kind of mid-century in this kind of more chic LA way, where it's like it's a cool wicker cabinet and there is like the mid-century low couch, and it's
she does mention it like it's, you have to really be a detective, but she is just being like, there's an old bench made by a Danish man in the 60s, and you're like, okay, so it's like a mid-century bench.
Yeah, it's like a $6,000 Knoll bench. I agree with her that TVs are ugly. Like there's a huge black square. There's not much you can do about it. But that's why I like to. Yeah, I would do a wicker or a rattan cabinet if I had one. But
I think if I had my
surround mine with
fantasy,
books.
I would have a full conversation pit hanging living room. And then I would have like my celebrity TV room.
I like the way that instead of sunken, you said hanging.
Oh, I meant like hanging out. Like, yeah, I would have my sunken where like it's hanging, couches facing, and there's no TV.
Hanging.
And then there's this other room that's like super heavy carpet, massive polar bear, like heated sectional with like the hugest TV, and it's like a separate TV room.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's fab. So you just have like your big, massive man cave Kardashian theater.
Yes.
And then you have your fabulous conversation pit.
Right, where the TV doesn't have to be seen, darling.
Yeah, one day when I live in a fucking railroad.
Okay, who are you in the book? I mean...
Am I the 80s businesswoman dear?
You're her when she says I'm a French woman and I'm like...
I'm a croissant.
You're a croissant.
Yeah.
And I think...
I want to be covered in butter and eaten by a hot man on vacation.
I'm Jenny Slate when she's like looking at people at the airport and being like, that's so cool. Like the way you just like got chips is like so Norwegian and amazing, and that's like gonna define my style for the rest of the year.
Right, because you're being so like take strip ones.
Take strips ones, like I love people watching.
All right, I give this book I don't know.
I know at first I was like God won, but I'm not. In the back got tons of good reviews from Vanity Fair to Mindy Kaling to...
I mean, obviously people are obsessed with this book at Shooting Fish and Barrel because they're like, oh, this is like... This
alternative.
book has a concept.
Yeah, that's a concept, and it's like intellectual but hilarious. We're supporting a woman. I don't know, for the concept, I'm going to give her a 2.5, 2.9 for some of the vulnerability, but it's just like the little things and little weirds and the twees, because I'm just like, you are funnier than this book, I personally believe. Really just, I wouldn't tell anyone to read this book. I'll say that. No.
I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, I'm struggling with it because I appreciate that she didn't do a like, here's my book of like anecdotal essays or whatever,
right.
Just like any random comedian catch up, just being like, so then, which is always just like, the first time I got my period at camp.
Yeah.
And it's just like.
Then I had a boyfriend and like, then I got broken up with once in my late 20s.
Yeah, one time a guy came over and he hadn't taken a shower. And just like totally bad dating stories. Like, I appreciate that it's not that. So maybe 3 points for that. But I hate that she has leaned in so much to how cringe this is, and it's truly uncomfortable to read. But then there's some vulnerable parts that I do appreciate and like resonated with me. So I'm swirling around a 3.
Yeah,
ultimately.
We're circling the 2.93 area.
And again, I'll say this: I do love Jenny Slate and think she's hilarious.
I think she's hilarious. Like, we stand by that, and like. No bad blood. I literally
stand her. No bad blood. Like, she is a genius. And, like, on some level, she knows this book is absolutely insane.
Absolutely. It's like, that's why she does the baby voice. Because she, like, knows it's like she's making fun of people who do baby voice.
Right.
It's like, make fun of what you are, so.
Yeah. I mean, publicity is
I want to run now and just watch every publicity sketch.
It's like one of the most genius like pieces of social commentary in the 21st century.
Truly, best
like, Library of Congress. Like
series of skits
ever.
So
yeah. Anyway, we do love you, Jenny, and we can't see what you do next.
What's next? And I'm gonna go back in my foxhole now. Okay, Club Kids. Okay, best. Celebrity Book Club is presented by Prologue Projects. The show is produced by Benjamin Frisch, with editorial support from Leon Nafok, Andrew Parsons, Arlena Revelo, and Madeline Kaplan. Our production manager is Percia Verlin. Original theme song by Stephen Phillips Horst. Artwork by Teddy Blanks at Chips NY. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at CBC The Pod. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Leave us a review, and don't forget to tell your friends. well, about us. And don't forget to go to patreon.com for access to the VIP Lounge, our exclusive bonus podcast.